baby.
We in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause we been.
Y'all better get comfortable with saying black.
We in here, yeah, we in here, 'cause
Black versus the Board of Education.
Cause we came here, rid of us now. We in here, yeah, we in here. Cause we came here, rid of us now. And you know, and we know, and we go, so you do what you know.
That's why we are indeed a whole mood.
That's it.
And welcome to another episode of Black versus the Board of Education. My name is Miss Laureen, and I welcome you into this space. And boy, do we have something to talk about today.
Oh, man.
Today's episode is Crossing the Line, Racism or Lesson Gone Wrong. So if you don't know what I'm referring to, you can check out our Facebook page, but we posted a post a little bit earlier talking about a teacher giving out a nigger dollar, or whatever it is.
That's what it was.
Okay. So before we get into that, is March 3rd. And we always like you to know who's in the building for any discussion that we get into. And so I would like you to pull up Melissa. And then we're going to get started with our introductions and get into it. So I'm going to start with Jazz. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, it's Jazz. I'm back for another one. Missed you guys.
I didn't even know Anaya was here. Okay, hold up, girl. Hold up. Let's go on screen. Miss Anaya, let's get your introductions, love.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anaya, and I'm currently a sophomore attending Howard University.
Well, welcome to the discussion. We ain't seen you in a couple of weeks. Welcome back. Right up next to you on the virtual screen. Hey, lady.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa, and I'm a freshman at UC Berkeley.
You feeling okay?
I feel a lot better. My classes were canceled today, so I've been asleep.
Come on, Win.
That's a good one.
Come on, Win.
Gotta do it.
All right. Right here, the gentleman right across from me, go ahead and introduce yourself. And then you brought somebody with you today. So we'll let him introduce himself last because he's our guest. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
That's right, brother.
Get into the microphone.
Beauty before ugliness.
Oh.
Stop it.
Fox. How everybody doing? We missed you guys.
All right. Mr. Fox is in the building. And right next to you, he's joining the discussion today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Bryce. I'm in the BBSN, Black Boy Support Network.
And how old are you? I mean, what grade are you in?
12th grade.
12th grade.
Hey.
So we have a little older student today. And we're going to get into it because, I was sent this via text message sometime last week. And our weeks tend to get away from us. And not only was I sent this, but I've attended a couple of different meetings, and I was really frustrated. Oh, look, somebody said hi, Bryce.
Yeah, it's my friend.
Okay, your friend is here. Hey, Boris, Tom Boris, or whoever you are. Hey. But I was sent this, and I didn't have a chance to really dive into it because it seems every Black History Month, towards the beginning or the end, this nigger dollar keeps coming back around.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who in their right mind would hand this out, even if it is for educational purposes, because I think there's other things that can be handed out besides caricatures of Black folks and stereotypes printed on a thing. But I'll go to y'all. What do you think? Melissa, when you first saw this, because I did I send it to you? I don't know. I tried to send it out, but what was your first thoughts?
Like you said, this happens. It doesn't even have to be Black History Month. Any random day out of the year, people want to make jokes out of Black history and Black trauma, and it's unacceptable. It doesn't matter if it was part of a curriculum or not. That specific thing does not need to be a part of curriculum. There's other ways to teach what you're trying to teach and get your point across without doing that and without using a slur like that.
Bryce, when you saw it, what were your first thoughts?
To be honest, my first thoughts were that the teacher was trying to be offensive to the students.
Oh.
Because I don't see why any teacher in their right mind would give that out to a student.
Okay.
Especially with the word that was used
on
the dollar.
Okay. Yeah, Jazz?
It just don't make no sense. I don't know what the correlation between what it's redeemable for and the website and mode. Like, it was It was just plainly disrespectful because it was like a stereotype, but that's not even, if you're going to teach about that word, teach what that word was used for, teach that double meaning as to why we don't use that term. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to teach about it, teach about what the word is. Don't relate it to stereotypical things of today, because that was a mess. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, wait a minute, I read that, and the picture on there, kids, our kids.
Yeah. Naya.
Yeah, my mom actually sent it to me, and she said that it was given to students by teachers when they said the N-word, and they would be sent to the counselor's office. And it didn't really make sense to me. It like it was, I guess, like going against its purpose, because how are you trying to penalize a student, but the buck itself is offensive as well? So that was kind of my reaction. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, yay, they're being penalized for saying the word, but in the way that it's happening is really just
Weird.
like an oxymoron. Yeah.
Yeah. Fox.
When I first seen this, I was shocked. Actually, I've never seen this before.
Mhm.
Never. And this was my first time seeing it.
Right.
And I was offended, but I was shocked because I was just talking. I had just done Black History with the kids, all the papers we showed you, me and Isaiah, and we had just did a bunch of Black History with the kids. And I remember I was talking with you before I seen this, and my conversation with you was, one thing I do not like about the education system in Black History Month is they give us the same. No disrespect to our brothers. I love Malcolm and I love Martin Luther King, but Black History Month is deeper than Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You know, it goes a lot deeper, and they regurgitate the same people in the education system. So I went and found some Marcus Garveys and some other Black excuse me, some other Black culture and Black history for our kids to be able to bite on as we was teaching to them, and the reasons why we hold on to culture and teaching them about how we move it along. And then here you came and you showed me this, and I was like, what's this? and you said they do this dang near every year.
Oh yeah, and the students give it out, and there's a whole website dedicated to this vitriol, and it seems to re-emerge every single year in a different way, in a different time. Last year or 2 years ago, it was some kids at Kit Carson, and they were and I
did you put this up on your website though?
Did who put what on the website? The Knickerbocker?
Yeah.
Did I put it on the website for what?
Because I just want to know, while I'm talking or while we're looking at it, did anybody actually zoom in? The part that shocked me was
the website at the top.
No,
the whole thing.
Redeemable.
No,
for,
yeah.
The nigger buck is redeemable for liquor, KFC, and a big booty hoe.
And Mo at the bottom, it say and Mo. So what else is you giving to him?
I mean, and that's sideways. I don't know. Can we turn that around?
Can we? Yeah.
Because I'm like, my neck is like, you know.
The fact that, you know,
and I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
It's not.
No,
it's
yeah.
That's what you think of the Black folks, man.
Because I don't eat KFC.
That's what we want.
Like,
and then the brother in the middle. And you know, we don't even want to call him our brother, but you know, we just so used to being family like that. They just had to give him with the big lips.
That's what I'm saying. The curriculum.
He look high. You know, so I'm like, what part of curriculum is this?
Like they're trying to fit a stereotype.
Like, hello.
You know, I'm looking at as I zoom in on it.
I mean,
look at how it zooms in
on the microphone.
Like, what are you trying to say? what type of teachable lesson is this?
Okay, so let's take a step back. So, what do you think? And I'm just putting this out here. What do you think the teacher's supposed intent could have been, Melissa? What, like?
I don't know, and I don't care. Because I didn't see the picture until you just sent it to me, and I'm over here. I have absolutely no idea. Because if this language was used in a classroom by a Black student, there would be repercussions. So I just don't understand. I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care.
Bryce?
I feel like if let's say I went to my school and I had this in my hand, or if any student or teacher saw me with this, I'd immediately get suspended for trying to use this word in a vulgar way. And I feel like if a teacher uses this and they can get away with it, I don't see how any way that could be right. Or allowed. And there has to be a lot more context behind it, because they're stereotyping us for wanting these 3 things that not all people that are black want. Like, I'm not always a person who want to get KFC. Like
at all.
There's all kind of other stuff I can get.
And my brothers don't look like that.
Not
So, I
at
mean,
all.
I'm just saying, like, if you gonna give
Man.
me $1, can it be something that I value?
Right.
Like, this is some foolishness. Anaya, what are you thinking? What do you think the teacher's supposed intent could have been? Girl, it's a podcast. Don't be just looking up into the
like
corner.
Melissa said, I don't know. Like I said, the repercussion, like the idea of go to the counselor for saying this word, like that was good, but the approach, I don't know what the approach was by perpetuating those stereotypes while trying to solve an issue. I don't know.
Is there any way, Bryce, that this could be educational? What do you think?
I feel like there's an education for the students and for the teacher. The teacher could have come at it a different way. Instead of making like a stereotypical dollar, they could have said, hey, this is why this word is offensive. Or, hey, this is why we shouldn't use this word. And then send the kid to the counselor.
Okay.
Not make something that's very stereotypical and that can be taken very offensively to other people.
It's very degrading.
Yeah.
As a black woman, that's how you view me. You view me as
a
you
big
could buy,
booty.
first of all, you could buy me like I'm just
For $1.
buyable
For
for
$1.
one singular. That couldn't even be $100 bill. Like, no, okay, fine, that's cool. But is she arched up? It's just so much wrong with
Arched up too.
I'm saying this is what the kids is, and was it a middle school?
It was a middle school.
Like that's even worse.
And so let me provide what I'm being told, or what I've been told, is that the kids were supposed to learn about the N-word and give a report to the counselor. And apparently there was a 20-page plus paper that went with this nigger buck.
20 pages.
Shut up.
Listen, I don't need one page to know what this and I don't know why they keep trying to talk about this N-word.
They just want to say
to
it's
the
so
Latin
bad.
word
That's
because
what
it means black. That's not why white folks was calling us
Not
that.
at all.
They didn't speak no Spanish. they spoke clear English. They didn't go get that word from no Latins, and they didn't mean it when they said, "Hey, black, how you doing?" They didn't talk like that.
Not
They
at
said,
all.
"How you doing?"
How black?
Excuse me,
Hey, black.
Excuse me.
They
Mr.
wasn't
Black.
being nice.
They wasn't saying it like that, so you didn't get it from here.
Yeah, no.
I look at some of this stuff, and in my mind, in my heart of hearts, there's no way that this could have been seen as a way to get people to understand the harm that comes with use of the N-word. There's no way that somebody sat at their house and said, you know what would be a dope assignment?
Nope.
Is if I hear...
That's what everybody is asking. Who the teacher? What's
and I just have to tell you, our Facebook page on this post was more active than usual.
More than anything.
Because I think that people, one, there's this disbelief that is associated that people can't be this
2025
dense in 2025. And we all know that racism is prevalent in our society. Let's not play with each other. We all know that our children go to school sites or whatever, and they're exposed to different treatment because of truly who they are. And we're not going to tiptoe around that. So was this a misguided attempt at teaching or an outright display of racism? What would you say?
Outright.
I'd say it was an outright display, because even if it was, there was so much effort put into making the dollar look that way. If it was made differently, like it could have easily been like, hey, this is what the word means. It could have been like, this is why we don't use a word around these people. And this is why we don't use it in general. But instead, it was put in the form of, what's the word? It was put in the form that black people are just, they want 3 things, and they are all the same person, always
what they
high
want,
and always doing bad things.
What they want: chicken,
liquor, chicken, and big booty house.
And I don't even drink. So, but I mean,
these kids can't drink.
Could it have been presented in a different way and taken in a different way?
It could have been.
No.
It could have been.
Okay,
No.
Fox, you say no. Why?
Because this was a covert attempt of trying to hide racism through education.
Right.
No different than somebody saying, I got black friends. My neighbor's black.
Real.
Yeah, I like black people.
Real. That's why I
She's a
say the
black.
word, because my friends are black. My cousins, uncles,
Man,
mamas, baby daddy.
Don't you know that my daughter's baby's daddy's cousin has a baby that's black?
Right.
And we love that baby.
And I just want to shout out to Miss Tawana, who says she's in training to be a school counselor. The first thing we are taught is to do no harm. As a counselor, she completely missed the mark and this had to be approved. So it went through a few hands.
That's a mess.
Are we slapping hands at this point?
No,
we don't need to slap nobody's hands. I feel like somebody needs a hand slap.
We need to put the picture of the teacher up.
Shout out to Miss Donetta. Outright display. An educator that puts this mess out should not be teaching anyone, period. And I perfectly agree with that statement. There's so many parents that chimed in on our Facebook page. If you don't know, go on Facebook, look us up, Black Youth Leadership Project. We are talking about racism. Overt racism versus covert racism, crossing the line racism, or a lesson gone wrong. And I'm trying to, I'm like, okay, let me see how they could frame this, right? Let me see if I can kind of see the educational value in it, right? Nope. And we've been going over this particular word on multiple campuses, including River City High this year. And we're watching the effects in the way that it's traumatizing students. So I'm asking you guys, how do incidents like this affect Black students' mental health and sense of belonging in school? Anaya?
Obviously, in a negative way, I feel like for some people, school can be an escape. So then to come to school and be harmed in that way by people that you're supposed to feel safe around, like people you're supposed to learn from, it's just insane. I just can't wrap my head around it. And then to know that this ignorance from the adults start in school, and then the kids have to go out into quote unquote the real world and still face that. Yeah, it's horrible.
And I just want to be clear, Ms. Donetta, I don't think it's a frame. I'm just trying to create discussion because we shut stuff like this down. However, we a podcast and we going to talk about it. So
right.
How do you think this affects Black students, Bryce?
I feel like this puts, like, let's say if there's some other students, like there could be some white kids in class. And when this is presented, it makes the other kids that may not have their brain fully developed.
Come on, talk about their brains. Yeah. Because it sounds like adults don't have their brains fully developed. But go ahead.
All.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
What it does, it makes kids believe that the stereotype is what's true and what's reality, when that's not what is reality to begin with. Like, let's say I was in middle school and I saw this, it would make me think that other Black people, not myself, would be like this. And when that isn't true, because I believe something my teacher was showing me, and it might be taken that way by other students in class.
Okay.
Because when they're talking to their teacher or getting taught, they think they can trust. That's a trusted adult they can speak to.
Ooh, come on now, Melissa. She's shaking her head. Y'all done made Melissa mad today.
Something I always think about, and is the reason I want to go into education, is because students in traditional schooling spend so much more time in the classroom than they do at home. We spend like 6 hours out of 5 days a week in a classroom with other adults who need to care. And when they are treating you like this, that, of course, like everyone's saying, negatively affects how you think about yourself. And you said this is in middle school, right?
Correct.
These are very fundamental years of your life and of building up your brain and how you view yourself, and identity is a really big thing in middle school. And I'm thinking about my little cousin Kane, who's in middle school right now, like how that would affect him if he went through that. This teacher, you said, do we need to slap hands? Yes, we need to do more than slap hands. There's a lot more that needs to go down. But faces, actually, please.
But we can't do that because that's called assault.
Yeah, you're right.
But we definitely
This is harassment. This is all.
I mean, you know what? You know what really bothers me? I don't think there's any other community that has to deal with this type of ridiculousness as they matriculate through school.
Look, when we went to West Sac,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that them kids said, the youth, when they came to my car to get me, they said, one of the little boys had been called an N-word there.
Mm-hmm.
8 different times, but he got fed up with it this time. Anyway, one of the things the brothers that came to my car to get me and said, they said,
Sorry.
She coughing.
Miss Tawana is lighting up the chat.
So Wanda say, do they have a poor white trash dollar?
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I don't think they have Cracker Bucks.
Yes, they do.
One.
Yes, they
They
do.
have Cracker Bucks.
You better look on the internet and see who really is the
Find the
who really
website.
Get, food stamps. That's the white trash. But
Listen.
What I'm gonna say was the little brother told me, man, out of all the times in the year we got to deal with this all the time on at this particular campus.
Mhm.
I thought Black History Month was the one month we didn't have to deal with that.
Nope.
That's what made us mad.
Mhm.
So I'm looking at myself, put myself in Mr. Bright's shoes, and say I'm 17. I'm in 12th grade,
Mhm.
not in junior high, but in 12th grade. I would still be offended coming to class on Black History Month, and the first paper to come to my desk is,
I will
a
walk
joke?
out the class.
yeah,
Is it
it's
a joke? Yeah.
because even in 12th grade, there's people that's immature.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
think all the way back to junior high,
Right.
Correct.
where they still doing the African booty scratcher, and your mom look like this, and now there's papers
Your
here,
nieces
and now
don't.
somebody's looking at it,
Mhm.
and they kicking and going, hey, that looks like him, huh? That
Right.
look like
Right.
him.
Right.
Now
You know what I mean?
bullying.
Yeah, and you didn't open the door for this, and like she said in the comments, as a counselor, that is the first thing they tell you. That's
Yeah.
on all counselors, social workers, everybody, even school teachers, do no harm.
Do no harm.
That's in every decision that you make.
But there's harm being done consistently.
Just
And
for
we have
putting these
to
papers out.
acknowledge that. Not just these papers, just period. Because there are some folks who exist who believe they know what's best for our children, and they don't believe they experience pain in the way that others do. They believe that they are older. They believe that they shouldn't be exposed to certain information, even though they're living it. Right. And so I'm really trying to, wrap my mind around this. And I do see the questions coming quickly in the chat. So my understanding, this was Catherine Albiani Middle School here in Elk Grove Unified School District. My understanding is that person or persons is on administrative leave right now. Is that enough?
No.
Some people in the comments was saying that's not enough. That's like a paid vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And so
How do you feel?
I don't feel like you should be paid for punishment. That's not how it ever goes. You don't get paid to go to jail.
Oh, what you say? I don't reward bad behavior.
That's what I'm saying. Like all of a sudden, oh yeah, like the same thing.
And the teacher was not a
nothing
counselor.
else,
So she that's what's coming through on my text messages. The teacher was not a counselor.
How do you think?
Even with being and I'm for the pass it back to you. Even with not being a certified counselor,
Mhm.
as a teacher, you a counselor. You counseling these kids. You supposed to be the mentor.
Mandated
You supposed to be
reporters,
you
right.
all that.
Mhm.
So even with you not being a counselor,
Yeah.
what grade of education do you need to know that this ain't okay?
31st
Bryce?
grade.
How do you think they would feel if we made $1 of a white person, or even some? Or
Well, we
even
don't waste our time on that,
True, but
right?
let's say, I know they only put them on administrative leave.
Yeah.
But if, let's say a person of color did it, how
All
would,
of a sudden.
yeah, all of a sudden it's a huge controversy.
Right.
Well, I think that we have to stop walking around with blindfolds on and understand that people absolutely know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
At a specific age or at a certain age, we can no longer excuse bad behavior.
Nope.
I don't understand why we're giving so much leeway to people who should know better. But if the shoe was on the other foot, like you said, the children are held to a higher standard than the adults who are perpetuating harm. And we have to figure that out. So I also saw somebody says, how should parents and community leaders respond to this particular thing? And I don't think it should just be parents and community leaders. Some of the children that were in that class, their parents need to bring them to the next school board meeting, which is tomorrow. And I'm going to be there because I want to know how they are handling this. Because if this was any other group being subjected to this amount of foolishness, they would address it. But because it's Black kids, they tend to think, oh, it's no harm, no foul. Black kids use the N-word too, so there's nothing to see here. This is stupid. It's stupid. What do you think, Melissa? Should teachers be trained on how to discuss race in the classroom?
I think yes, and this was not a way of this was no way of doing it. There was no lesson that could have been behind that. And something that you always say is that like the way that teachers treat Black students is a heart problem. And so yes, you can train them on how to discuss race as a topic, but you cannot teach them how to ignore their biases if they already have that within them. Because if they have that, then that's going to negatively impact who they are as a teacher and how they are teaching students and interacting with students, then they don't need to be a teacher. But I think that race, because it is everywhere and it's all around us, especially as Black students going into classrooms that are a lot of the times not predominantly Black spaces, and we don't always have educators who are looking out for us, it definitely needs to be discussed, but it needs to be discussed properly. And it's such a layered topic that people are uncomfortable talking about.
And they need to get comfortable. That's what she said in the intro. Y'all folks need to get comfortable saying Black.
But listen, if you go to any of these schools in this district in particular, they tell you over and over again that that their staff is trained, that they are, working through how to approach this. So is it just that the training is retarded, or like, excuse me, I don't mean to use that as a thing, but is it the training is ineffective, or what is it that we're doing?
The training is ineffective. The training is noteworthy. The fact that you took an approach and you took a step, but what make you think your training is so effective to get through to somebody who has a lifetime of trauma? That means that you need to continue to have what they call professional development. Cultural awareness is an ever ready developing thing. It continues to develop itself. We continue to learn about ourselves as a Black people, as a culture, and we continue to express it in different ways. Be it be our dance move, be it be the way we draw, be it the way you do BYLP, be it the way we do BBSN, be it the way you do BGSN. We embrace our own our culture, and the way that we looking at things and moving forward and getting over the trauma continues to evolve daily, monthly, weekly. So as I'm evolving, so does your training need to evolve. Because as yesterday you thought, oh, you know what, just ask him if he's okay. Well, guess what? You can ask him, but this kid right here, he just got beat up by his dad. It's going to take more than just okay. You're going to have to see if he's okay. This one right here, suffering from sexual trauma. This one right here, suffering from no malnutrition. This one right here, suffering
is on
from
medication.
You understand? So, so your training may be a good approach. I'm glad you started it. However,
continue
it.
Well, and then I want to call y'all's attention to the comments. So I know a couple of folks in the chat are trainers or used to be trainers in Elk Grove. They said the teachers in Elk Grove have been taught how to discuss race. There was a whole document created and distributed to all teachers about the use of the N-word.
What?
Did they read it?
Listen,
there's a whole document. Okay, did they read it?
I don't know if she understands what she's saying. Listen,
I think she does.
Okay,
she was there.
So okay, niggers are a race.
Huh?
Niggers are a race.
No. Talking about racism and including the use of the N-word to people who may have thought that it didn't have any racial connotation.
That's my point. You just because you discussing the N-word doesn't mean that you discussing black people. You can't just offend me by me personally. Me and you had this discussion before.
Yeah.
I'm so far gone off in my thing after 27 years of prison and been getting called so many N-words. I laugh at it when I see it. But I got other brothers that don't feel the same. No. If they even hear you about the last one we seen the post of him, the brother didn't want to hit the guy or nothing, but the white guy said it again. And he blammed off on him, bam, hung him upside down and asked me who's a nigga now, right?
Right.
But my point is this: for you to have cultural awareness means that you have to understand everything that culturally is offensive, and you do know, and this dollar shows it. So you put that N-word on there, saying that we all chicken eaters. Everybody don't eat chicken.
Liquor.
Saying that
Big booty hoes.
I mean, we may eat some chicken.
But
That's okay.
But to do my sisters like that and have them
But they
bent all
eat
up
chicken
on,
too.
got them up on $1 like this.
I mean,
Come on,
yeah.
my sisters like
yeah.
that.
I'm saying.
I mean, I looked at it. I didn't. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't.
And then
that don't look like us.
That don't look like me.
That don't look like us. I don't know who it look like. It don't look like us.
It's the fact that you try to put them too close to that. But it's other things that offend Black people.
Right.
Yeah.
More than the N-word. So don't think because you passed around a document and said, "Hey, you know what?"
No, but did they read it?
That's
and
the
then
part.
what? Okay, so on the document, did it list? Okay, if you don't do this correctly, that we're gonna A, B, C, and D. What is the consequence for you having a general misstep? Do you believe the teacher should be disciplined?
I think teachers should be fired.
I feel like it's like
okay, I got one fired. Go ahead.
I feel like even her being on administrative leave or him being on administrative leave isn't enough because she could easily come back in the school system and do it again or do something close to that while not using the word in particular.
Or
and
worse.
And get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say it wasn't the N-word. It could have been the same image but with a different word on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it would
are they going to release one with the F word on it?
That's
and you know, because we know that kids have been hemmed up because of that word and the connotation. And I'm not talking about the curse word. I'm talking about the derogatory term that refers to another community.
Mm-hmm.
Would they hand out that buck?
Nope.
Why
they
not?
wouldn't get close to it.
Not at all.
That's their friends.
Right.
Yeah, I would say they definitely wouldn't. And I think it's interesting because, in my opinion, the N-word is still a cuss word.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, for other slurs, it's like unheard of. Like no one is saying other racial slurs to any other racial group. But to us, it's like, oh, it's just a word. Like, get over it. It's interesting how it's like, it's still a curse word. It's still a slur. Yet it's so normalized, not only in our community, but also in other communities that they feel comfortable
saying it to each other. Yeah, it's not just any kind of cuss word. It's
I've seen that when I first got out, and I was like, "What?" I was walking in the mall, and they were just going off. It sounded like a lawn, it's like a chainsaw. And I call myself about to turn around and tell the little brothers, like, "Hey, bro, you ain't got to say it that much. I mean, you
every other word."
And guess what it was? A white dude talking to another white girl.
Nope.
And the other brother, I thought he just had a pitch voice. It was the girl. They going back and forth. I'll tell you, nigga, what you. And I said,
walking past Black people saying out loud.
No, they not doing it. You know, and then sometimes there seems to be a misconception of, if I hang out with Black folks, then I can do derogatory things to Black folks too.
Well, because I'm part of the community.
No, you're not.
So you can harm the community. I can harm the community that has accepted me in it.
No. I'm just saying that's what they would say, that they're part. The video that we saw.
Say it, them your friends.
Remember that one guy said he was raised by Black folks, and then he turned him upside down and was wringing him out.
Yeah.
And he was, like, it's not your word to use.
And the cold part was, in that scenario, the Black dude just asked him not to call him that. Hey, maybe you was raised around Black people. I'm asking you not to call me that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He told him, shut up, N-word. You are N-word. Please stop doing that. and he wouldn't stop. But look, let's make no misconception either. Don't think, I'm going to change it and say it differently because I was going to say it too rough. People are very sensitive.
Okay, well, think about that. But I just want to acknowledge Miss Danielle Black in the chat. We know you weren't absolved in the district. I know her personally. I know the things that were going on in this district and how she tried to be an asset instead of a liability. So I appreciate you. But you were saying, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to acknowledge my sister in the chat. Do you believe that this teacher could, because they do things like this, and then the first thing that we hear is, oh, well, I didn't know, I wasn't sure, I just was trying to learn or teach something, so I'm not racist, you know what I mean? So do you think that it's that case? Do you think she's just saying these things? Like, I'm trying to give them
I think it's a case of like I said in the beginning, covert racism. And the reason why I said that is because of what somebody said in the comments. That paper had to go through a couple hands.
Yeah.
So let's just say she was ignorant to the cause, and maybe you did have the right intention. And I'm not saying she did, but if we was to give the benefit of the doubt and say, man, she had the right cause going in thing, one of her peers along the way should have stopped that paper and said, hey, look, hold up.
This comes up every year.
That's not going to go well.
So somebody else seen that paper. I ain't going to say it's either. It's good.
Well, that's kind of, Melissa, I see you shaking your head, and I don't want to not add you into the discussion. What you shaking your head for?
I don't think that it was accidental or ignorant at all, because on the paper you can see that it says no, some of the content in this writing may be offensive to children.
Oh, you knew.
So if you can acknowledge that it is offensive to one group of people, children, because again, this is middle schoolers, how can you not acknowledge that it would be offensive to Black people? This was intentional. This was absolutely intentional. There's no way, because she absolutely knew, she knew. There's absolutely no way.
Okay. I mean, I agree. I'm like I said, this is just a podcast, and I gotta act like I don't know. But I
make no mistake, junior high is still children.
They are absolutely children, and it's just funny to me how the response gets more attention than the offense. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh my gosh, Black people are mad again. Oh my gosh, we can't. But the response gets more attention than the offense. And this particular district has had many types of offenses like this. I can remember going to the school board for multiple years. The teacher said the N-word in the class. She told the kids that if you were from this part of the world during this time, you would be called a Negro. But if you were in this part of the world, you'd be a nigger. And she pointed at 2 Black kids, the only 2 Black kids in the classroom. So when we went to the school and we had a meeting with them, these are the responses that we got as the parents and the advocates. I'm like, what? No. I need the same type of energy you had in your classroom when you handed out this assignment.
And said it.
And I'm like, where can I find, what was the lesson of the day? What did your curriculum look like? Oh, it was a pre-lesson. Okay, I'm gonna need that document too. Because there's no way that you could tell me isolating the only 2 Black kids in that class was a good idea and it wasn't done on purpose.
Who approved it?
You know what I mean? And so again, those people didn't get a slap on the wrist. It was just like, oh, they didn't know. No, you absolutely know, because you directed your commentary to Black children. You knew.
Straight up.
So all this ignorance. Oh, I heard that somebody called over there. Let me see what it says on this Facebook. They said they reported it to the superintendent, and he said he'll look into this. What is there to look into?
I think it's clear as day.
What is it that you're investigating, sir? And is it just going to be like all the other things that you've let slide while you've been in your position?
Ooh-wee.
It's really only 2 questions. Is this your paper? Did you hand this out? No more need to be said.
No more.
Like, what are we investigating for?
Pack that classroom up.
Don't pack that classroom up.
And so
Black
again,
leadership on the way.
we have the opportunity to engage in discourse, right? Through the process, the school board process. It's a long process. I'm gonna let y'all know it is not for the faint of heart. Sometimes you get overly bogged down by all the issues that are going on. That's probably why you don't see me at so many school board meetings lately, because I try to cover all the districts in the area. However, if you are a parent of a child at Albiani, if you are a parent of a child here in Elk Grove Unified School District, even if your children are not in Elk Grove Unified School District, the best way to show we're not putting up with this foolishness is to meet me at the school board meeting tomorrow, 6:00, 9510
address?
Elk Grove Flooring.
School board meeting tomorrow.
Because the problem that I have, 9510 Elk Grove Flooring, when you look at the school board, they don't comprise people who look like us, right? But shout out to Delia Baldwin, who was put into Gina Jamerson's vacant seat, a parent of a Black child, Black children. However, they don't understand the impact or the urgency for them to actually respond. Just like over at River City, I sent an email a week ago. The principal is dragging his feet and he's really starting to piss me off because you have our children constantly being victims or victimized by the use of this word.
And they writing complaints. We receiving complaints at
we just asked to have a whole conversation. And this is what they do. They hide behind ignorance. Well, what would they tell our community? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I'm going to need you to bring your floppy feet over to a meeting and let's have a conversation about why you don't seem to see an urgency to do anything or to do your damn job. Because if you can't do it, I want you to move aside because our children are not your crash dummies. They're not your play pals. I'm really getting agitated because I'm being faced with a bunch of adults who don't see that they are perpetuating harm and there's no real accountability happening, but they want you to come in and validate your existence for trying to curb an issue that you see happening. I'm really getting ticked off. Anaya, what you got to say? Because at this point, I'm no longer going to believe that it's not intentional.
Yeah, I guess I'll just circle back to what some of the educators had to say in the comments. And I think I have a unique perspective coming from someone who is a daughter of someone who works in that district, and kind of hearing what goes on. And yeah, it's like they go to these trainings. Some of them go to check off the hours, say, oh, I did 5 hours of racism training,
development.
Yeah, the PD sessions. But like Melissa
and
said,
they be on their phones. Okay, they're not paying attention. But go ahead, I digress. Go ahead, Naya.
Yeah, and like Melissa said, it is a hard problem. So like I can go to all these trainings that I need to go to, but if I don't truly care about what you're saying, if I don't think that I have any racist tendencies or that I have set prejudice against people, it's not going to get through to me, and I'm not going to care. So obviously, my behavior is not going to change. So
well, when you're not held accountable.
Yeah, like I don't know if I guess there's not like little check-ins on like, are you really understanding, or is it just everybody does 8 hours of training or whatever the amount is, and then you said you did it, you get paid for training, and then you go on to teach these kids, even though you're uneducated yourself.
Right.
Well, I mean, and how do we ensure that they get the message? The thing is, they have what you call a train the trainer model. A lot of their staff looks just like them. You think they're gonna have a perspective like I'm gonna have?
Nope.
And do you think the black folks in that district who do train can really tell them that they're? Oh, I almost cussed. Lord have mercy. Do you think that they can be honest about the way they feel when they have to interact with people who continually perpetuate harm on children who look like them? Do you think they can actually show up to spaces and be authentically black without their livelihood being put on the line? Like, these are the questions that our community has always had to grapple with. Melissa, what are you thinking?
It just feels like Black students are always in a constant state of fight or flight when we're going into schools. Like, it's absolutely insane. There's teachers who don't care. There's no consequences. There's no accountability. Like Anaya was saying, they're going to trainings that are supposed to be there to better the students, supposedly there to better the students. And you can go and just say that you went and not apply any of it, and then the students are the ones that are suffering. But if a student displayed the same behavior, they would be suspended or expelled, and they would have all of the negative consequences. But when it's someone who is actually able to negatively or positively impact the student's life, they're disregarded.
Yeah.
At said school, were there any colored staff?
That's a crazy question, the way you framed it.
Okay. I'm funny. I meant
but it's a true question. It's a real question.
He said, is there any colored? Well, it depends on what you mean by colored. You mean other than white folks?
Yes, other than white folks.
Well, I mean, I just have to tell you this. Anti-blackness is throughout, whether they're not white or non-black, right? And so anti-black racism is a real thing. And so whether or not they have, I know they at least have one VP who's a Latina. As far as who's on the campus as staff, I don't know. I think they have one biracial counselor, but again, in an environment where you are the minority of the minorities, right? You're less likely to be able to say things without fearing that you are going to lose your livelihood.
If you were on the staff team and you had seen that before it had blown up as much as it had, what would you have told the person who made it?
Say that one more time.
If you were there and
she wouldn't have came to ask me. I'm gonna be honest with you. They know who they can ask, right? And they know that certain people are going to have certain responses. So they don't bring it to the people they know are going to have the adverse response, right? And that's the problem. If you look at, say, the cabinet in Elk Grove Unified School District, I told him he needs to diversify his cabinet. All his cabinet are white men, white women, and there's a couple of American Indian folks put in there, or not American Indian, I'm sorry, Eastern Indian folks in there. And then I think they got I know they hired a new black doctor person, but I don't know if he's in the cabinet or he just hanging out in the district. So, I mean, I have to figure out the landscape now since things have changed so much. But when your sounding board are folks who look like you, and they don't have the different perspective that is needed to have a well-rounded discussion, and there are no consequences for their inability to react, there's going to be problems, right? And I see that I'm going to have to start going back to the school board meetings. That's just it. That's all I can do, right? Because as long as I stay away and as long as I try to bide my time through all these districts, my home district, the district that I'm a product of, the district that I raised a kid in, they're not going to change because I'm one person. But if we can collectively show up and tell them we're done with this foolishness, I mean, although I'm only one person, they still tend to respond because I'm a consistent person and I'm loud. But if we had more parents not just waiting till something happens, but holding these people accountable because they are being paid with our tax dollars. Our school districts are being funded by our tax dollars. So if you are a homeowner in this area, your tax dollars are going to fund this educational system, right? Additionally, your children are in these schools. What we need to start demanding as taxpayers, because I own a home in this district, is that you treat our children like you have some damn sense, period. That's what we need to demand.
See, I'm starting to realize it's not that we don't have teachers that don't care. They care. You just don't care about us.
That's what President Luke Wood said.
You care. and that's probably the breakaway for them. They in denial. So when you tell them like, man, you don't care. What? Are you crazy? I took little Susie a coat yesterday. Yeah, Susie, not Jamila. You don't care about Jamila.
And not Jamila.
Yeah, you know, they don't care about us, and by being in the level of denial that they be in, listening to what Melissa was saying and Anaya was saying about how they go along, the word denial will allow you to it'll paint a whole picture for you about the way something is. Yeah. Just because you're in denial about a fact about yourself, and being able to have a conversation with somebody like yourself, like you, somebody who's going to give you a different answer is where the knowledge is at. It seems like this district goes along with the get along game. If we can all get along right here, then we can all get them, then we're going to want you hired and we want you on this seat next to us. If you don't think like I think, look like I look, and willing to represent the laws that I stand for, then I don't want you sitting right here. They don't want somebody with a different viewpoint, but the different viewpoints and different colors is how people learn from stuff. You know, they learn from them different conversations. People learn from debate teams. People go to college just to learn how to debate correctly. There's knowledge in that. So to just sit there and just to be in denial when people continue to put out statistics, continue to put out the knowledge about what's going on, you continue to see the aftermath of uneducated children, and you see where they go to. There's no slew of where you cannot see what happens if a child does not reach his education or nutritional levels. You can walk around Sacramento, they all on the side of the freeway, they all downtown, and that's not making a joke about it, but that's saying this is what happens when you don't care. Yeah. This is what happens when you're in denial.
Absolutely. Melissa, so you've been with me the longest, right? And can you explain to folks what you have learned being closely associated with Black Youth Leadership Project for the number of years as a child, and now you're an adult. Can you explain to folks what, and Anaya too, because y'all have been with me for a long time. Can you explain to folks what that's like and what you've learned? And Jazz too, because you're sitting right here.
Yeah, so when I met you, Miss Lorene, I was mostly homeschooled through my life, but I went into public school and had a horrible experience with a teacher who I was one of the only Black students in her class. And for some reason, she just didn't like me. And she made it very known to everybody that she didn't like me. And so when I came to Miss Lorene, I was a shell of myself. I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I was very, very introverted, didn't know how to express myself at all. And coming into BYLP, into an environment that is built not just by Black people, but for Black people, because like Fox was saying, the teachers care, they just don't care about us. So being able to be in an environment where the people look like you and care about you changed my entire life. And now I write poetry, I perform, and I'm able to be at UC Berkeley on a full ride scholarship because I was able to advocate. I was able to advocate for myself. I was able to learn so much about myself and be able to make the pathways that I needed to be able to go down.
Anaya.
I love that. Well, I would say I met you, I think I was like 12 in middle school. And I think my first like introduction to you and BYLP were the legislative open houses. And I thought it was very impactful because like when I was a kid, so I'm like, oh yeah, I get to, go on a field trip. They feed us, we read bills, we go to the Capitol. That's so cool. But looking back, it was really empowering because I get to be in places that are like very powerful and that like quote unquote higher ups only take up space. Like you don't expect middle schoolers to be in the Capitol reading bills and reading laws, and having that language broken down to us at that young age just kind of made me feel like I was capable of being in those spaces, whether or not I chose to go into that career, but knowing that like I am worthy to be in the spaces that white people took up. So I think my journey with BYLP is very, I would just say empowering. Y'all have impacted what I want to do in the future. I do want to be a teacher, but I also want to work my way up to being on a school board so I can have that direct impact to these policies and procedures and how not only I would focus on the Black kids, but all kids, and specifically how students of color are treated. So I would say y'all have very much impacted my life a lot. So,
and thank y'all for sharing. You got something you want to add?
I mean, I started with BYLP when we went and did the Oakland trip.
Okay, how old were you?
I had to be 14.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to be 14.
14 right now.
Stop it.
Now you're sitting here playing with me like I'm not about to be 21. But anyways, and I just feel like learning about Black history on that trip and learning how powerful and honestly how beautiful we were and how our beauty was seen as a threat, just how simple, just how you look can be seen as a threat. But then also when you have the right words to say that you're really seen as a threat, it was like one of the most empowering things. And so that led me to go into college thinking, oh yeah, let's do psychology. I didn't really care for nothing that they was talking about in that. But when I got to communication and cultural communication and learning how to talk to people in different spaces and different levels of business and hierarchy and things like that, I feel like I would be able to be, and I have actually, I'm able to be in this space and advocate for our students and ask those questions that hit them kind of like, oh, you don't have an answer for that because the answer you want to say is not the answer you should say, which is your problem right there. So I just feel like BYLP has definitely helped me see and be aware of and kind of, in a sense, be prepared for an event that I experienced in my own neighborhood. It was called the N-word. Walking around my neighborhood, I was upset, took a walk, got called the N-word, 2 cars full of white kids. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And I got called the N-word and I was like, I don't know what to do. Do I fight him? Like, what do I do? And I was like, let me take a picture of that license plate, blast it up, get everybody's attention, because if I respond to it in a certain way, it won't get, dealt with in the way that it needs to. So just BYOP being here for kids who don't have a voice like I do, who don't know what to say like I did at a point. I just feel as though that's one of the most impactful things that you guys and we can do.
I have one question before you get out of here. What can students do when they witness or experience racism in the classroom? Because you're the only one in the classroom right now within this school district.
I'd say instead of going to someone at the school, go to their parents and have a conversation one-on-one with the parents, so that instead of it immediately or someone on the staff downplaying it,
Mhm.
The parents can give them more of a mindset and tell them more about real life and why, and to expect this more in life, because you're gonna see this more in life. You're gonna see it on the news.
Mhm.
You could even see it in a friend that's using the word the wrong way, or even using it in the first place.
Right.
So instead of going to the school, go to your parents, because they will give you a better explanation and they'll teach you a lesson that needs to be learned. You probably haven't learned yet.
And if you want to file a complaint, BYLP takes complaints, and we will absolutely follow up on anything that's happening on the school campus. So
where they got to go to get the complaint?
BYLP.org, BYLP.org, and we look forward to serving you here. But we are running out of time, so I'm gonna give you guys 30 seconds. Everybody has 30 seconds. But before we do that, you guys mentioned the legislative open house. Our legislative open house is March 21st, 2025. We are looking and recruiting students right now. So if you are a parent or you have access to young people, get them signed up today. We want to take over the Capitol and show them that we ain't went nowhere, that we're ready for a new group of young people who want to learn the legislative process, who want to get ready so they can stay ready, learn the game, and lead the change. So March 21st, 2025, open to grades 7 through 12. We want your students in the building, so send the information out far and wide. So with that, I got 30 seconds for you all. Give me your closing. What would you say to the superintendent of this district in regards to this incident? Because I tend to believe that attitude reflects leadership. Mm-hmm. So 30 seconds. I'm going to start with Fox because I know you got to go. 30 seconds. What is your takeaway from this episode?
Show me the decision you're going to make, and I'll know what type of man that you really are and if you really care.
Okay. Bryce.
I'd say the fact that he took little time to
go ahead.
He took a little time.
The fact that he took little time to look into it, and when he finally did, that it took so long for it to finally come up and be handled, that I wouldn't, if I had a kid, I wouldn't send him to that school. Okay. I would find a different school that handles their staff better and takes care of situations like this in a fast demeanor and gets rid of the person who did said thing.
Okay. So you want action, but I want to caution you all. It is really, really hard to fire teachers. They have some little pesky thing called a union. And the union puts up with their foolishness and makes it so that it's hard to get rid of teachers. So, I understand the desire to get rid of them, but there is a whole process that has to happen. Anaya, 30 seconds.
I would just say, in whatever ways you can, show that you're not complacent, show that you don't approve of this behavior, and practice what you preach, and make sure that you're doing everything you can do to make not only the students, the Black students, the Black staff, and also their families feel like you actually do care for them, like you say, if you say you might.
Melissa, 30 seconds.
Do your job or let somebody else do it.
Boom. Jess.
What Melissa said ×2.
That's all you got?
That's all I got. Don't make me have to come up there and talk to you. That's that too.
Well, I mean, I think in my 30 seconds, I want to just make sure everybody knows I'll be at the school board meeting tomorrow at 6:00. If you're feeling froggy and you're ready to leap, meet me there. We can talk to the school board together, and we can figure out how we're going to start collectively holding folks responsible, because we cannot continue to send our children into these toxic environments and believe that they're going to learn what they need to learn when they're too busy focused on survival. Let's keep it a buck. So we expect more from you. We're going to demand more from you. And if that means that I got to get on y'all's nerves again for the next 8 years, buckle up, baby, because it's about to go down. With that, we have run out of time. We hope that you will join us next week right here on Black versus the Board of Education. We're going to hit y'all with the peace sign and see y'all next week. Peace.